Tech 3 Repper. And now there's only a Damnation left. Damnations, of course, have a ton of tank, but Test has a ton of damage still on the field.
I do wonder what would happen, though, if the Balgorn had, like, 2 large smart bombs fit.
Oh, it would have hurt. These ships do have big drone bays, the Ishtars especially, but the Vexors are a little bit vulnerable to
They've
losing
got
their
a
drones.
125 bay with 75 bandwidth, so they've got a flight and 2/3 of possibility.
So if you wipe out their first wave of drones, you've weakened their damage significantly. And yes, I do think that's something that's going to be quite vulnerable. These, unlike, say, the medium drones from Aquila, these drones are significantly more vulnerable to smart bombs. They don't have quite the gigantic hit point bonus. And this Damnation now is going to be kind of dropping slowly. He's making his way away from the Test team, trying to, I guess, keep himself alive for the rest of the match, but that's not going to be easy. Of course, yes, as people are saying in Twitch chat, Test Alliance just ran an ad that showed them needing to loot the field before they move on, and I'm sure they're going to want to loot that Balgorn.
Yeah, easily
Maybe
excited.
some
Just
officer modules.
facilitating the Test ISK
Maybe an
build
officer
here.
web, you know, that could pay for, like, there are modules that you often see fitted to flagship Balgorns that could pay for some team's entire tournament run.
Oh yeah, I mean, like we were talking earlier, I think it's something like we were saying about the Tobias web.
Yep.
I mean, that will give a Vindy a 50k 90% web. I mean, that is just insane on any team. And like, you know, so whatever that Balgorn had, that also has a web bonus. So you got potential for webs, those also newts, you know, you got some great tanking modules in potential.
Damage mods, because it did have lasers, and that
Yeah.
Damnation is down, so Test is not going to have much more time to loot. That is the end of the match. Test Alliance moving on, easily excited, is eliminated from this tournament. And we'll send you back to the guys in the studio.
It looks as if Test Alliance has an innate upper hand because everybody follows their name and ignores them. But even if Easily Excited are going home, you can be glad that CCP Easily Excited is still going to be with us. But Bacchanalian, Elise Randolph, CCP Rise, what did you guys think?
Well, we saw what we expected from a flagship Balgorn. It exploded.
Yeah. So the neat thing is Test banned the Geddon. And so Easily Excited were like, hey, I've got something that's like a Geddon, but it's blingier. So they took their Balgorn. But I think it was kind of like a feint, right? So Test kind of just wanted to see the Balgorn anyway, because they knew they could crush it.
Yeah.
As Fozzie was saying, like the heavy newts don't really kill the Tinker at all. Like the cycle time's too short.
I think Test, it's really cool how they have this like quasi-Tinker with a ton of damage. It's completely different from anything anyone else is doing, and that's really awesome. It seems risky, like a very counterable setup, but it's really strong, obviously, if they get the right kind of matchup. And it seems really hard to fly, so it's kind of cool that they're willing to use that despite all the risk. And I'd be surprised if we see it again today, at least, both because of getting banned out pretty easily and also because someone could just answer it. But it's really, really fun to see them fly it.
Yeah, if you're Feign Disorder, who's Test's next opponent in like 3 hours or so, I think you just got to ban a Tengu. Like,
It seems like the most obvious approach.
Yeah, I have to say, for all my hatred of Tinkers, I don't dislike that Tinker. I like a Tinker that's actually going to kill things, and that Tinker kills things. That's a ton of damage.
it also loses lots of parts, but still works.
Hey,
It's
I
like
mean-
the Test Alliance of Tinkers.
Rather than boring people to death.
Yeah.
Right.
I feel like we should, like, maybe at least if you could talk about what Tinkers are. I know we do that every so often, but people get really mad hearing it, not knowing what it is.
Yeah, so a Tinker team is like, you get a Tech 3 logistics ship, and it has a very high amount of damage that can be output, or that can be repped. But it has no mobility at all. You've got 6 kilometers, whereas like a normal logic can get you to 70 or so. So the core of the Tinker just stays together. They have a cap chain going between all the ships. so they're very E-War immune. They've got like remote SIBOs and stuff sometimes. It depends what they've got. And so they just stick together, battle ball, and just project as much damage as they can. Usually these teams are very low DPS, which is why the test one is so fascinating, because it like just sheds out all the damage, and it killed that Logi. Like that Onero's died super fast.
Yeah.
Like 40 seconds or something.
Right. Usually the setups, they're low DPS partly because they're really low in ship count. Like it's hard to, one of the big limitations of the setup is that it's both hard to fly already, and also the Tengu can only lock, what, 5 things at a time?
I think it's 5 things.
So managing reps across a lot of the team is really hard, so it's unusual to see a team try and use that strategy in a full lineup.
You also kind of generally want the high HP ships because alpha is an issue.
Yeah.
And that setup, it kind of ignores that. Those Vexers probably get volleyed fairly easily.
Right.
Whereas with, for instance, the Tinker I believe PL brought yesterday had all really beefy ships.
Yeah, it had like the flag rattlesnake,
2 Eoses and a golem. I mean, it was so that it is very uncharacteristic Tinker, and that's why I like it.
Yeah, it's fancy.
As the self-proclaimed inventors of the Tinker, you and your alliance.
Yeah, PL approves of that one. I think it's a good one. I think it's a very strong Tinker, especially for this meta. You can project your damage very well. You're damp immune, which is like a thing Tinkers hate is damps. So yeah, we saw some other teams get around this by throwing like a Marauder in there, because Marauders are also damp immune. But Test just say, hey, I got a bunch of ships.
Yeah.
Deal with it.
Looks like bringing up Alcorn is not enough to break it.
No.
But and like I said, easily excited they're now going home, and on to the next match, which is Shadow Cartel versus Wafflestad. Shadow Cartel have banned out the Tengu and the Loki, so no more shield Tinkers, and Waffles banned out the Ishtar and the Vexer Navy issue.
So we'll see some
Gila's-
Lorenzos.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Hilarious.
think it's safe to say we'll probably see Gila's from
Yep.
one of the two teams. Shadow Cartel has some pretty devastating drone-based setups. I don't know, Shadow Cartel, like they're quietly, I think, one of the top 2 teams in the elimination bracket. So Waffles really kind of pulled the short straw here to face Shadow Cartel.
I mean, I kind of feel like both of these teams have that going on. They're both kind of quiet horses that could actually do really well.
Yeah.
Both scary teams. Waffles has looked really good this tournament.
Yeah,
too.
though Shadow Cartel, the only thing they just barely lost to last year's champions.
Right.
So,
Right.
Yep.
I mean, their one loss is a pretty strong
You know,
loss.
the one thing to talk about leaving Gila's open with the bans like that, you figure both teams are going to be prepared for seeing a Gila setup. They're going to they should know, like have something that can beat it. And they should, you figure they're going to be looking to that kind of setup, like how do we counter Gilas, because chances are we're going to see them.
And the Rattlesnake is also open.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, if I were a guessing man, if I were just like trying to guess what's going to happen, I think Waffles, we might see something like a Gila Sleipnir team out of them. But I wouldn't expect something like that from Shadow Cartel. And I don't.
I'm very curious why they banned the Vexer Navy issue, because it seems to be the sort of cheaper cousin of
The
of the
suboptimal
Gila.
version.
Yeah, it is fast. Like the thing about the Navy Vexers is really fast. So if you don't have a lot of tackle, it's kind of annoying to grab them. But and it works in both shield and armor comps. The Gila can only be in shield comp.
Yeah, that's true. And the Smart Bomb also chews up a Vexer Navy issue's drones a bit faster, doesn't
Yeah,
it?
absolutely.
This is a hint. You should bring more Smart Bombs. I will never stop. Never ever.
Keep at it.
Yeah. The word of Gargant. Bring more Smart Bombs.
And they have
enjoy
like
smart
flashing
ones,
lights too, so they're pretty
Right.
cool.
Yeah, well, despite us having a Waffle resident here in Young Apothony, I am going to go with Shadow Cartel in this match.
I'm afraid that I'm gonna make my roommate mad and also go with Shadow
Yeah,
Cartel.
their showing against PL was just too good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
I
breaks
agree.
my heart. But the thing I love about Shadow Cartel is they bring like the highest DPS setups imaginable. They always use
Yeah.
like the frigate logistics.
That
So
was- yeah,
there's
they
going to be a
kinda,
lot of explosions.
Like broke onto tournament radar for us with like a Talos setup or something 2
Yeah.
years ago.
Yeah.
They've always liked that like huge punch setup. So
Yeah, we like
although,
to see brawling.
That said, I'm going with Waffles.
There
Oh,
you go.
I can't leave Sis7's side. He's a bro of mine on the Waffles team, so me and Apothny can stick together on this one.
Solidarity.
And I remember that Apothny was talking about, even if Waffles goes through Shadow Cartel, they come up against, what was it? I think they come up against Test Alliance then after that? No, the winner of Faint Disorder of Test Alliance, yeah. I think.
So it's the winner of 93 against loser 87. Loser of 87 is RVB.
Right.
Oh, yeah. They have to go through either RVB or Nulli Secunda. This is me being a bad.
Right.
So their next match would also be really hard. Like whoever wins this match has a really hard match the next one in
definitely.
RVB.
Yeah.
It's going to
No
be an
slouches.
explosive day for that team. But as in terms of what we've seen from Waffles, we haven't really talked about what they could possibly bring. Like, what do you guys think? Shadow Cartel have made that obvious what they're sort of good at, but
Yeah, Waffles are pretty diverse in what they can bring. Obviously, they're not going to bring Tinkers. The Waffles, I think their flagship again died, so they can't bring that. So maybe Shadow Cartel is pretty happy. I don't know. I really expect Waffles to try and take something really strong that they saw yesterday and just add their own little modifications to it. Because, I don't know, it's good. It works.
you know, that sounds about correct. And with that, the match is ready. So we should just go out, fly out into cyberspace based on this Hyperion and see what's going on.
Whether you're into gate camping or jet can mining, you'll find Eve's best music mix at Eve Radio. Visit www.eve-radio.com today.
Do you like waffles?
I like waffles.
I like waffles.
Do you like waffles?
Yes, I like waffles.
And pancakes and French toast.
Welcome back, everyone, to this next match in the 12th Alliance Tournament. This is CCB Fozzie, joined by a very excited Apothny. We have Shadow Cartel versus Waffles Dot. And as expected, Shadow Cartel has brought a ton of DPS, but Waffles isn't a slouch in that department either. Shadow Cartel with a Frigate Logi team, double EOS, triple Gila, Cerberus, double Flycatcher, double Worm, double Burst. And why don't you tell us a bit about this Waffles team, Apothny?
Well, Waffles have their own Gila setup with only one EOS, but they have, I think, key is 3 Moluses. Burst have very low base locking range, so if you put range damps on them, they just can't lock anything. That means they have to come to close what they're repping, which means that those heretics and even that Cerb are just going to nuke them off the field. At the same time, Shadow Cartel have a bit more DPS, so they're going to be able to burn through Waffles more quickly, but Waffles do have that good core simi, which can rep a lot more than 2 bursts can.
Yes, those 3 Moluses are definitely not something those bursts want to see. They're going to probably be eliminating them off the field pretty quickly. We'll see how it goes, though, as the match has now begun. Both teams came in at long range from opposite beacons. They're about 100
Shadow
kilometers.
Cartel getting the damps off on the Molus immediately of the Waffles team. Really nice pickup for them. Let's see where the damage applies first.
Yes, so the teams are, there's drones moving across the field. We've got a flight of geckos and augmented Vespas moving across the field from the Shadow Cartel team. The drones, meanwhile, are holding back at the moment from Waffles. Waffles is pulling back. They are keeping their range, and they are shooting drones. They are shooting the geckos.
This flight of drones is going to be the flight of drones that Shadow Cartel wants to use on Waffles. So Waffles go, okay, we're at range. We'll just kill your favorite drones in this point. And I think that's a really kind of wise, patient setup.
Yeah, so at the moment, all of the drones for Waffles are staying around, clustered around their group. They're focusing all their damage on the drones. So you're not seeing damage applied to the ship health bars at the moment, but that doesn't mean there isn't damage being applied. Waffles are killing a lot of drones. And now Shadow Cartel is actually pulling their augmented Vespas and geckos back, but man, there's a lot fewer geckos coming back to them than came in towards Waffles. Meanwhile, the Waffles drones now are heading across, and we might see something we've seen before, where the teams actually trade back and forth shooting at drones as the flights move back between the different groups of them.
I think both teams are really good at shooting drones. I mean, light missiles are great at that. Cerb flycatchers for Shadow Cartel and the double heretic Cerb of the Waffles team. Damps are now spread across the Shadow Cartel EOS and Gilas, making their lives a little bit difficult choosing what they want to shoot at, having to use assist if something is out of their lock range.
Yep.
Now Damps going back on the Waffles team
so
as well.
The long-range missiles from the Flycatchers and the Cerberus are hitting the Waffles Talwar, but he's holding out quite well. The Scimitar of Daniel is doing a great job of keeping him up, and he's now back up to full health. So this is Shadow Cartel testing the tanks, seeing if they can knock down a vulnerable ship. I would expect they might try to do something similar with the Moluses if they get an opportunity
I think
for
this is such a tense match. Both teams have realized that both setups are really, really good at killing each other. Like, this could easily go either way with some of those smaller ships falling off or a big ship loss entirely throwing it is. So neither team wants to screw it up. but we do have a time limit here.
Yes, we do indeed. And so at the moment, we're actually seeing the Shadow Cartel team slowly moving towards the middle of the arena. They are advancing against the Waffles. The Waffles, meanwhile, are actually pretty close to one of the micro jump units.
Waffles, don't do it, Waffles.
So once again, we have another wave of drones moving across the field. This is an offensive push from the Shadow Cartel. Shadow Cartel is trying to get their damage applied to a target. We're going to see which one it is in a moment, as those drones arrive. But I expect the drones will probably get shot as well. The Gilas now are charging across the field as well. Asurka in the Gila is leading the charge. In fact, he's way out ahead, so this may be him being out of position.
Looks like Shadow are going for Caesar Shiorida's Heretic, but he's holding reps fine. You know, T2 shield resist, even on an armor bonus hull, are still going to be fine. Target Painter going onto the other Heretic, a Riventel. I mean, we're yet to see where Waffles are choosing to apply their damage.
I expect it's going to be Asurka's Gila, because he is leading the charge there. He is definitely in front of the pack, and they're coming in kind of piecemeal. I'm sort of surprised that we're seeing the EOS holding so far back. The Gila's running in. They do have damage applied to the Waffle Scimitar,
damage going on to a Sakura. This could be the first blood of the match. The Heretics seem to be holding reps time. They're switching between the two
There's
Heretics.
damage on the Scimitar.
Making
That's
Daniel's
the
life difficult.
real dangerous moment here. If the Shadow Cartel can knock down this Scimitar of Daniel for Waffles, then they're going to have a much easier time killing these small
reps
ships.
Going onto the Gila from the burst now, but one of the bursts is in half shield, so Waffles could switch back to that, probably nuke it very quickly before the reps get
below
readjusted.
half shields now. He is boosting back up, but he is in a little bit of trouble here. He's also close to the edge of the arena, so he doesn't have much further he can run away from. He is boosting. He's going to be into his ASB reload any moment, though, and then he's going to drop.
There goes a Gila suddenly out of nowhere.
That Gila died to a boundary violation.
Oh, Shadow Cartel, what are you doing?
Another boundary violation mistake. This Scimitar is still going to drop, though, I think.
But now we're losing Virus in a Maulus. Oh, whoa, there come the reps. Beautiful save. No,
there he goes down, though.
But the thing is, every few seconds, every rep cycle means they are delaying when they go on to the next target. So that even though they lost that, Waffles have got to be happy that they kept those charges.
Daniel's Scimitar is going through armor, and he's going to be dropping off the field any moment now. And there he goes. Scimitar gone for Waffles.
Down.
Meanwhile, the bursts are still alive for Shadow Cartel. One of them is in Trouser Deagle, and his burst is in such low structure. But he is still alive, and the bursts are repping each other. This is an effective burst combo. Shadow Cartel is doing exactly what they need to do right now, which is kill the frigates. Now that there's no Scimitar, they can take these down really fast, get the Molluses, get the Talwar, get the Heretic down, and that'll clear off a lot of this disruption.
One of the things we see in this tournament, even though Gilas are really, really powerful, once they lose their support, they are done for. And that's entirely what Shadow Cartel are doing now. Looks like they're putting DPS onto Rudix in the Gila, but in fact, they're spreading DPS across quite a few targets.
So the second Gila that just died for Shadow Cartel was another boundary violation. Shadow Cartel has now boundary violated 2 Gilas, and yet is still winning this match.
Waffles, they're losing the match for you.
Raytheon Cerberus is dropping very quickly. That looks like the Gila drone's got on top of him, and he's going down fast. So now it's 2 EOSs, a Gila, Flycatchers, Worms, and crucially the 2 bursts versus an EOS, triple Gila, Cerberus, and Talwar. There is still quite a lot of damage on the Waffle side, but they don't have those reps.
Waffles are slightly ahead in points here, but I do expect to see Waffles falling sooner. The Waffles are desperately going after these bursts, but they are holding reps so well. Frankly, I am amazed at how well these bursts are tanking.
Yes, the bursts are actually doing a great job of it. They had all that dam pressure, as we see a Talwar drop off the field. They had all that dam pressure, which meant that they had to get in right up close to their targets, but they used the speed of the burst to get in there and managed to keep themselves alive. Waffles is still trying to kill them, though, which if they can pull it off would be great.
The match is now tied, 36 points to 36 points. Damps going onto the Waffles teams. Waffles looking to where they can apply their damage. The bursts aren't working for them. I think they do need to choose something else, potentially. But, oh, wait, no, look, hang on. Trouser is going into low shield. Is he going to get another cycle before he explodes?
He's going so low, but he's still holding up. And meanwhile, Rodix's Gila is dropping down. He has a huge wave of drones following him. He's just not going fast enough to mitigate that damage.
Now there's a web on him as well. Something has caught him.
Good tackling by the Worms for Shadow Cartel. They got tackle on the target. Rodix would have been able to mitigate a lot of that damage. He was overloading his MWD. You saw him accelerating and then quickly drop down as he got the web.
Rodix goes
and
down.
There he goes. That's a big chunk of DPS off for Waffles.
This is the point where Waffles, you know, this is almost the point of no return. I mean, like the match started so evenly. It was so close, trading back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. You know, they picked off a ship each other, but then suddenly the semi was lost. Suddenly, no, these key ships were lost here, there, maybe due to some piloting error, due to possibly just some straight up good moves from Shadow Cartel, and it just caused Waffles to just get the disadvantage, and Shadow Car built on that.
So meanwhile, both teams are actually trying to trade Gilas. The Gila of Asurka for Shadow Cartel, which had initially led the charge, is taking a bunch of damage, but so is the Gila of XII there, who is webbed. Again, great piloting by these Worms, getting webs on the primaries, making sure that they take full damage from the drones. They're probably going to drop around the same time, although that Gila of Circa is getting reps, so he actually will probably stay up significantly longer.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things people forget about healers, forget about worms, is they are really, really fast chips.
They are indeed. They have pretty big sig radiuses and maybe aren't that fast for a Frigg, but of course, as a Frigg, they can get across the field really well, and they're very durable and do a lot of damage. That burst is still taking a bunch of damage. Trousered Eagle's right on the edge of life. He's bleeding through. It's really just like a volley away from dying. But I think it's going to be too little too late for Waffles. They're going to be trading Trousered Eagle's burst. There he goes, finally down for another Gila. Ryo Chaos's Gila is dropping through shields, has no reps. Now he's webbed again. Good web by the worms, and he's dropping off the field. So this is Shadow Cartel with another just like incredibly in-your-face, high-damage team. They stuck as much damage as they could on and had to actually work with bursts instead of a more expensive scimitar for points.
Looks like Waffles aren't going
well.
down with a fight, though. They've got this final Gila into structure, and I'm really looking forward to looking at Z-Kill or Nullsec after this match. I want to see how much damage Trouser took before he died, because he was surviving forever.
Yes, Trousered Eagle managed to stay alive for a very long time and keep repping his team. These bursts, of course, have the advantage. They're the only ships in the game that we allow in the tournament to have 2 of them with reps. So for the logistics cruisers, both Tech 1 and Tech 2, or the strategic cruisers, you can only have 1 of those ships with remote reps. But for the logistics frigates, we allow you to have 2 of them with reps. And they can crucially rep each other, which is how Trousered Eagle stayed alive so long. He had a second burst there to help rep him.
Elise was saying the other day, they are not only good, they are point efficient. They are 2 points each. You know, it's so many fewer points than a T1 Logi. I think it's less than half, but they rep 2/3. So if you're looking at it on a points to usefulness basis, T1 Logi frigates are amazing, and they allow you to bring so much DPS, and this seems to be the philosophy Shadow Cartel brought to the tournament. You know, using, I think it was either Navsas or Inquisitors in a previous match, and you know, they just really have gone, this is a really good idea, no one else is really doing it, let's kind of do it ourselves and kind of make our way with it.
Actually, one other team that Shadow Cartel had seen doing it was that PL team that managed to fly 2 bursts out of the arena. So Shadow Cartel did, of course, have 2 boundary violations in this match, but that wasn't enough to cause them problems. They were still able to take the match. 2 Gilas, I'm sure, are going to get a talking to from their coach afterwards. But this is a very convincing victory for them.
Shadow Cartel did do their best to give Waffles a chance, but sadly, we did not grab a hold of it, and we still managed to lose. The final EOS now going down for God's Messenger. The match will be ending shortly.
Lots of GFs.
I'm very sad for my Waffles bros, but I have to say, Shadow Cartel have done so well this tournament. I am not upset at all that we lose to them. If we were going to lose to someone, I think there is no shame in losing to Shadow Cartel.
Yes, Shadow Cartel has had actually a really, really impressive run. Like Lee said, the only time they've lost is by a razor's edge against the defending champions, and here they are knocking Waffles out and continuing on through the losers bracket. So with that, we're going to send you back to the guys in the studio.
Align, align. The clock e bomb. Via, ragazzi, tutto. E via il jump bridge.
Do you like spaceships? Do you like explosions? Airlock Media. We make your corporation look good.
It looks like it was waffles for dinner for Shadow Cartel. Even if they decided to sacrifice two of their Gylas for fun, waffles just turned out to be a little soggy mess.
That was a really serious attempt at a throw. They almost handed the match back to Waffles.
Yeah, they got very, very close. Shadow Cartel, man, they must think there's like treasure on the other side of that boundary. Like, I don't know, they keep going for it, and yeah, they almost threw it. But what a great match from both teams, actually. That was, I think, one of the most exciting matches we've seen. Shadow Cartel took that high DPS team that they're sort of their trademark thing, and Waffles, I mean, they didn't bend that hard. They took a 3 Gila core, They did some interesting things. They had the Molluses. I think the pivotal thing is that the Waffles lost the Dampor early on. But even though they lost the Dampor, like you're like, oh, how do you lose a Dampor with Molluses? They did the smart thing.
That's exactly what you actually said.
That is exactly what I said. But they did the smart thing. They kited back. They let the Shadow Cartel dams fail. Then they applied their own Mollus dams, which are better. And then they continued on fighting. Unfortunately for them, like Shadow Cartel managed to have amazing worm pilots. Like we give their Gila pilots a lot of flack, but those worm pilots did the suicide tackle perfectly. They got the Gila's tackle. They got the Scimitar tackle at a crucial time.
Well, and let's talk about the burst pilots. Too,
I was going to say,
I mean, you were saying that you would trade yours for theirs.
Yeah,
I mean,
if I could have their burst pilots, I think it's just an easy road to the finals.
An opportunity presents itself.
Yeah.
So
no.
they really did a good job. I mean, that was kind of the turning point in the match to me. I think if Waffles get that burst down, then I think it flips, especially with the two Gilas suiciding themselves. That flips the match. But the fact that they spent so much time trying to kill that burst and just never quite got it, I think made a ton of difference. I mean, he absorbed, like Apothe was saying, I'd love to see the kill mode, see just how much damage he soaked up.
Hero bursts, saving lives.
Those bursts are really tricky because it's pretty much the only two teams that have fielded those. I mean, there have been others, but the two strongest teams we've seen were Shadow Cartel and Pandemic Legion. So it's not like something in the meta that you see all the time. So maybe you don't practice against it. Maybe you don't realize just how actually tanky those bursts are and how effective they are. Like, oh, the frigates. Like, they're real huge frigates with their rep power.
Yeah. It seems like frigates get underestimated a lot.
Yeah.
Both by, it might even be people that are watching the tournament and by teams that decide not to field them. But support wings are very, very important.
Yeah, I don't remember if we've talked about this before at all, but it seems like early in the tournament, I don't know, a lot of the big decisions to make and a lot of the theme or focus for us is around what's happening in the main bulk of the setup, which command ships or which battleships or which cruisers are chosen. But it always seems like as we get later in the tournament, the support, the way you use and pilot the support, which support you choose, ends up being much more important in a lot of matches. Like in this match, I mean, the kind of base of the setup isn't all that different, but having the frigate logistics versus normal cruiser logistics and having Molluses versus having more of the flycatchers and heretics are really important decisions that swing the match a lot. And I don't know, it's fun. I actually like that part a lot. It's kind of a cool development. The tournament didn't used to have much focus on support, and
the
more
support
and more
wings.
it's a big deal.
I think the support wings win you championships. Like the in-your-face things may the high damage things like the Balgorns, the Vinnies, they may get like the close-up shot on the cameras, but you're gonna win because you have good support.
That burst, somebody very benevolent just whispered in my ear, took 26,500 damage.
And that's for a frigate.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
That's incredible. I mean, that's
hero tanking right there.
We're talking about the support. I think it's really important to note that the piloting on a support ship is often more difficult. Flying a frigate in a dogfight situation where you have 3 worms coming at you or whatever it may be, especially when they're in the thick of things in a mix of drones chasing you and that sort of thing. Boundaries when you're doing 4 kilometers a second come up on you really, really quickly. So those pilots have to be so on their game, so precise in their movement, so precise in their positioning. And one tiny mistake when you have as little EHP as you do as a frigate can mean you just instantly get volleyed off the field. So to stay alive and do your job is actually significantly harder, I would say, than to fly the Vindicator or to fly the